All right, welcome everyone. Akasha here, and welcome back to this amazing global series that we're doing on energy medicine. So, the fun thing about this is I get to meet new people that are doing amazing things and that you can really learn from. So, today we've got Lisa Wilson. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here. We've just had an amazing conversation. I think we could talk for 3 days. And so we're going to talk about living radically authentic as the secret ooh, to a joyful life. Can't believe I forgot that. I'm all about having a joyful life now and not waiting till later. So let me just share a small bit. Lisa has founded a place called Radically Authentic You, right?
That's right.
And you're a transformational coach. And I
Yeah.
know you've been through all kinds of your own journeys, which is my favorite kind of teacher, is one that's been through the ups and the downs of everything. And you've got some unbelievably amazing products and some of the insights you've told me about. So why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about how you came to this point in your life and why we were talking about how we're really, really happy to be in the middle of the pandemic, begin in the middle of the massive transformation on the planet back to living from our authentic selves. So this is a massive awakening globally, and I know that you have a special expertise in this area of bringing wholeness back to a world and a personality and an emotion and a body and a spirit that's been fractured. So share with us a little bit about how you got here.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so grateful to be here. You know, my journey, I was born into a family of narcissistic personality disorder and a whole lineage. So, as a highly sensitive person or an empath, um, my world was in a lot of chaos and a lot of drama growing up, and there was no real safety for me. So I managed to put my life together in a way that was very safe. And, I had what on the external would look like what everybody is wanting to create in their world. I had a marriage and a business and financial resources that felt safe. I felt safe, but I built my life in safety. And I was not living a joyful life at all. I was miserable. I hated going to work every day. I was working 10, 15-hour days, and I was in a marriage that just was not congruent with me. But what I didn't realize when my son was born, I went through my first real awakening. And that was when I commanded to see clearly, and I was able to see some pretty bad behavior in my family structure, and in relationships in every aspect of my life, because when it's in one, it's in all. It cannot not be. It's part of the mirror effect of the energy frequency. So I dove in deep to a lot of healing modalities and doing shamanic journey work, and I started to recover aspects of my fractured self. So that was when I started to really wake up to the fullness of what I had been saying yes to. And it's not like we intend to go out in our lives and live inauthentically. That's not what I'm sure there's a collective group of people that do. That's not what we're talking about on the global scale. So I, you know, I looked at the masks that I was wearing, one after the other. I remember having this dream where one mask after the other just kept unraveling, one after the other. And I looked and I thought, wow, my people pleaser, which is what I needed as a surviving tool when I was a child, because it was not safe to be a child in my environment. So I became, a people pleaser. I did everything to try to keep things stable in my reality and safe and comfortable to some degree when things were chaotic all the time. And all of a sudden, I realized all my tools and techniques were all false masks, manipulation through people pleasing and doing for others and giving so much to try to get something in return so that I'd be safe and taken care of. And all of a sudden, all the false masks started to come down. And as that happened, I was able to fully connect to myself and live a radically authentic life at that point, which meant saying what was on my soul. I really had to check in with myself. Is that out of safety? Is that out of my programming? Is that out of manipulation? Is that out of my childhood? Or is that the truth of me? What do I really want? What am I looking to? So I had to discover myself, reinvent myself, and bring all these aspects home. And you say, how does that apply now in living a joyful life? Well, first of all, the only way we could truly be happy is when we claim our lives, claim ourselves. Other than that, even if it's at a subconscious level, there's a schism that takes place. And that schism creates a separateness from the self with the self. And that's where shame and guilt lives, within that broken, fractured aspect of ourselves, the false mask. Because we know in our hearts, another way of looking at it, and a lot of the work that I do now is removing the heart guard, because we build that wall of protection around our hearts so that we're operating in the intellect. Well, the Great Awakening is the stripping away of the false masks. It's taking away all the stories and the illusions of what we have been conditioned and programmed to live within. So, for me, I it's like you said, why we're loving this time on earth. Energetically, I've known we've all, those doing the energy work on the planet, we've known this was happening, the shift in consciousness was going to take place. And yet there's been a lot of aspects leading up to this, the harmonic convergence in 87, right? I mean, we could follow the path, and 2012 were the end of the Mayan calendar. We were all like waiting, and yet it was a significant shift. It just showed up looking differently than what we were, but not now. Now it's showing up exactly as we can't believe it's showing up the way it's showing up, and I believe we're only at the beginning of it. I feel like this is just the beginning of the unraveling of the false programs, living inauthentically, because we don't even know we're living inauthentically. We've been programmed to do it through our social conditioning. We've been based in a fear-based reality for so long, and it's been programmed through our social media systems and all areas, TV and radio and computer, and everywhere you go. Even though you don't realize it, there are seeds of doubt that gets planted within the subconscious, so that we're constantly in a state of working outside of the truth of who we are to fit into a system that supports an agenda that is not your own. I think I said
That's a mouthful. That's awesome. Yeah, it's exactly right. What's happening, it's so much like the Matrix. It's almost too cliche to say the Matrix, because as we pull out, as we unplug, to be able to see, wow, these differences that are from what we thought. And I think it's important, one thing you said is, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong, because you probably didn't know. I know I've been following my spiritual path for about 33 years or something. And it's been like a blind person, you just do the next thing and you don't know what it really means. And you kind of get a glimpse of it, and then and then you don't know. And then it keeps unfolding. And then you learn eventually, just be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, that we are seeing it. And that's what's so cool, is that, like we were talking about, one of the things about being authentic and radically authentic, it's being forced on the planet right now, right? It's what I call the age of transparency, right? It's things are coming to light. You're not going to be able to hide your thoughts, your anger, your secret hatreds, your secret hangups anymore. So time to go see what those are and where they've been put. So tell us a little more about that idea, because with the fractured soul, people might have heard of soul retrieval, right? Or I used to do soul readings and different things, finding those parts of yourself. And what's interesting is that we have the ability to now see more than we've ever seen, more easily. It can come up more quickly. And with all that, like you said, all these stages we've been through for many, 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 many millennium, right, to get to this moment, literally, is that's also happening for everyone on the planet, and it's coming up really fast. So talk to us about why energy healing, energy medicine is so vital to understand, to start to apply, and how people will be experiencing and might be experiencing these parts of themselves and the planet, and picking up on other people too.
You know, I think the beautiful journey that I've been on, I have been a coach my whole life. It's been my soul path, my soul purpose. But I spent years intellectualizing everything, learning everything I could, understanding my childhood traumas and relationship structures and diving in. But it wasn't until I started doing the energy healing work that life started to change for me. Until that day, it was Groundhog Day. It was the same thing over and over again. Different people, different players in my own story of my life. But the same experiences constantly, repetitively. So it didn't matter where I went in the planet. You know, I think Wayne Dyer, when he was alive, love him, said something like, wherever you go, there you are. Or somebody said that, right? And that's, you know, I remember moving thinking it doesn't matter what beach you're on or what, you know, environment you're in, you're going to bring the same experiences to you. And the Great Awakening, it is the bubbling up of these aspects of ourselves that have been fractured off. Now, in my understanding of energy work, the soul can fracture. It doesn't have to be something massive or a major. I've been through major. It doesn't have to be major to fracture. It could be, you know, I remember my son was sleeping and I dropped something loud and he startled awake. That's a fracture, because our soul knows how to protect itself. And when that human gets activated that way, it breaks off to protect itself. So what happens at that point, the way I have seen it through my guides and my journey of this experience, is those aspects of self go into a warehouse. And there are different sections within that warehouse. One's labeled terror, one's fear, and the light goes dim or out in those areas. So we forget that aspect of, you know, we make up for it by intellectualizing our life at that point. We think our way, we try to control things. And the one thing we know for sure, and what everybody's living through right now, is there are no guarantees. None. And like you said, we are all learning to navigate the way it was shown to me, like we're in the cosmic flow of the Gulf Stream. We're riding the wave of this energy system that is impacting all of us. And the wave is flushing out these hidden aspects of ourselves that have been separated, because we can't raise our vibrational frequency until we call in all parts of ourselves back home. And the only way that I have experienced my own journey of bringing those parts of me back home is through energy healing work. I think it is essential. It is an essential. I have not discovered it, and I have studied and worked with therapists and this and that for years. But until I started doing the energy healing work, I was unable to reach those parts of myself.
Yeah, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that. The awakening, the big change, the great transformation. We know that this decade has been predicted for millennium. I mean, the Mayans, the Egyptians, everybody, they predicted it. They knew this was happening. Mm-hmm. And astrologically, I'm not an astrologist, but I read certain scientific ones that they're like, you know, just computer guys that read this stuff, and then they say stuff that just blows my mind. This is apparently called the Great Societal Reset, in astrology, right? And we know that, like you said. So here's the thing: we've been taught, we've been programmed, and we have habits, right? There's the neural pathways, the patterns, the reactions, all this stuff to be good, hardworking citizens that go to work and do what our parents told us to do, and, you know, all the rest of this stuff. And so with all of this breaking down and people in uncertainty, and then all of these parts coming back up, because I know I see in my journeys and hypnosis and stuff, you find people will go, and I don't tell them where to go. They'll go down to some cave where they find part of themselves locked away. You mentioned something like this, and chained, one of them was down a chain hanging in a dark dungeon in a box wrapped with chains. It is a part of this person, a part that got you in trouble, that you said you were gonna never do again. So like me, you know, I'm a big talker, and as a little kid, you know, I would get in trouble, and then it'd be like, okay, I'm never gonna do that, I'm gonna be a good little girl, and suppress that part. But we're all up in it right now. Like, we're home, we're having to see ourselves, we're having to deal with our families or our situations, and with the uncertainty. So talk about how you work with it. Give us some really juicy stories and ideas of how you can use this as an opportunity, because I think it's a massive opportunity. And once you get your grounding a little bit of like, okay, where am I gonna get my food? Everybody's okay, right?
Yeah.
Now we need to switch to what an amazing opportunity inside of chaos is opportunity, and we get to create the new earth. What do we want?
Oh my
Do we
God.
want one full of fear or not, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for asking that question. And you know, this, and if I can say, and I know this might kind of be a little, but I live radically authentic, so I might hit a nerve or two here. But if this lockdown didn't take place over the duration of time that we're having right now, if my life fell apart the way it did, one piece at a time, I could have easily put those pieces back together and dusted myself off and kept on going. But when my life fell apart, I cracked. When this lockdown is happening and the way it's happening, we're cracking. And the crack is necessary. Cracks open. It's like you build Fort Knox around your heart. And the way I see this journey of this great awakening is we're going from an intellectual lifestyle base and living into the heart. And the only way we get to the heart is we got to take down Fort Knox. So it's got to come down. The walls have to come down, because your GPS system lives in there. Your internal GPS system is in your heart. You can't hear your intuition or your guidance system when you've got Fort Knox built around the heart. So this time on earth is the greatest gift, even though we don't recognize it yet. It's scary. Fear keeps us building that Fort Knox brick by brick, wall by wall. The fear will keep us separated from the truth of who we are, and it keeps us spiraling in a downward spiral. So what I'm loving is first, I always say, awareness is, without awareness, forget it. You've got nothing. You have to become aware. And what's happened with this great awakening and this pandemic that we're all navigating is we're becoming very aware of, even though everybody is in fear and they are worried about career and job and paying rent and we're watching this collective come together to support us through the shift. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I could start to see how toxic the earth is now, how the systems are starting to rebalance, but how toxic I have been. We have been living outside of our natural flow. I'm sitting here watching as the sun is setting at 7:30, and I'm shutting down my house. We're going to bed at 7:30. Like, we're following the rhythm of the sun. And our bodies are resetting, and we're getting back into flow with the natural biorhythms. You know, we've been programmed, when you think of what happens from the time of birth, that, you know, it's a constant go. Kids in kindergarten, I mean, that's like a college education right there with kindergarten. They have to do the blocks the right way, and they have to do the, you know, motor skills the right way. And they got to, you know, God forbid they haven't pooped and peed and everything, you know, got potty training down by 2. It's like, what do you mean you're not, it starts at such an early age. And then they're programmed all the way through. So we get programmed away from the truth of who we are. And that has brought us into living. And I mean, it is so interesting. Like you said, we're red pilling. It's the Matrix. We're red pilling. We're starting to wake up and getting red pilled to see how this system has not been supporting us. It might have been supporting some systems on Earth that have created the system. And that's a whole other conversation that will come to light through the course of the awakening, so to speak. But it starts with ourselves first. So we're healing. The Earth is healing, but we're healing. And the energy, what happened, the way I see it is, because of the walls, we have to remove the walls. And that's where energy work comes in. And the work that I do and some of the stuff I do, when I started going through, I think those of us that do the energy work on the planet have been positioned for this time on Earth. I was telling, we had this conversation a little earlier, that we're acupuncture needles on the Earth, and we've all been placed in certain parts of the Earth to hold the light, to be able to be that resource and that system, because we've been through it. I mean, I spent 1.5 years on the floor in deep states of fear. I didn't have an entire planet going through it with me. It was just me. And I didn't know if I was going to make it through the other side. I mean, I literally was on the razor's edge. And every day was a lifeline for me. But that was the breakdown of the false self. And that was where I started doing the energy work deeply, going in, like you said, the soul retrieval work. I remember being called one day, and I had to go down, down, down into the underworld and find an aspect of me that was in a cage, and she was chained up, and she was kind of wild. And I have since, and that was in 2011, and in a lot of the energy work I have done in my own healing journey, working with many different practitioners all across the board. I mean, energy work to me is just, it's the umami of life. It's like the essential, it's the life force energy. It is the gift, because everything is energy. And when we have been blocked and clogged, and our system is clogged, the only place we could operate from is the intellect. And this is going to lie to you every time. It's going to negotiate, reason, and analyze. It's going to steer you away from the truth of who you are. It's going to look outside itself for its guidance. And everything on the planet has been manipulated to some degree. That the only place you can navigate from is your internal guidance system. You have to drop down into your heart. And to get to the heart, we have to open up the heart. And through one of my awakenings, because for me, I call it in big time, because God knows, takes a while for me to get it. Shoot. Boom.
No, I think those of us who dove in and like really went through it, we may have thought we were doing something wrong at the time, or felt like a victim, like everybody does. But ultimately, like we were talking about, these pains, these experiences, they hold the freedom, they hold the strength.
Yes, they do. And when you put all those pieces back together, there is a joy that you tap into. It's your freedom and liberation that brings a sense of peace and joy that fills every cell of your being. And the way I see it, it's almost like our DNA, it's not almost, it is, that our DNA gets completely reprogrammed. The neural pathways within our brain starts to shift and change form. So we're looking at life through, and then the adversarial voice, one of my mentors who I deeply love, she calls it the adversarial attack. So, when we attack ourselves, we no longer start to do that, because we've brought ourselves into the fullness of who we are, so that we can't attack ourselves. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. Or what was I thinking? Or I did that wrong. I didn't do it right. This is all of the shaming and blaming and guilt of a system based in fear that we have lived in for lifetimes, generations. That's why when we heal it within ourselves, we're healing our lineage. We're actually healing the lineage. We're making it right with our ancestors. And our ancestors are working on our behalf significantly right now. The team of light has got us deeply, like they're holding the space, which is why the energy is bubbling up now for us to call in these parts of ourselves. But when we're going through it, it's almost like you're kind of, what happens when you're in the ocean, right? And you get caught in one of those waves. It could be one of the worst rides ever. What do you have to do? Let go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you let go, you pop up to the surface. You might be out at sea a little ways, but you're able to get out of the chop of it. And that's what's happening on Earth. That wave is significant. And when it grabs you and pulls you in. So how do I navigate the deep states of emotional fear and pain and guilt and shame? First I'll say that I put up one of my on social media structures of my platform on Facebook. I do have my healing fear process up for free for everyone right now. It was just one of my greatest processes that I've used energetically to go into the etheric, really pull out deep states of fear and transform that energy, turn it into gold and bring it back in through your system. I love this process. And I have watched magic happen in my life, but it becomes kind of your daily practice, right? Which might change over time, but there might be key components that you use on a regular basis. So I remember going through my situation when the bottom got pulled out and I didn't have any financial resources coming in at that time. And I have a child and I'm single at that time. And I live in a community with some of the highest rent possible. And I just didn't even know how it was going to happen. But when you learn to let go and allow the divine to work through you, you start to wake up to the truth of the fullness of you, and you start to wake up to the energy. And I was guided along the path, right? So magic just started to happen in my life. So these are tools that I share. But the one thing that was a not negotiable was my energy healer. I had to pay to work with my healer at the time because I knew that I was never going to get anywhere without, and I was too close to it for myself at that time. I was too much in an emotional fear reality downward spiral that I couldn't tap it myself at all.
And it's important to just interject here that a lot of people who have worked or know techniques or are energy healers or whatever, it's okay to get help. We all tend to go, oh, I know this, I can do this. And yet it's completely different. You need to be held and nurtured. You need someone else to look into that field, and you need to allow the support, because the blend of you knowing how to let go and just be the receiver is very powerful.
So big. And it's part of the initiation phase because it's the cycle. It's the energy exchange. What we put out, we receive, and we're constantly receiving that. But I just remember sitting there thinking, and all the things that were essential to me at that time, making sure I had a roof over my head, putting food in my refrigerator, and my energy healer. It was like,
yeah, exactly.
This was my lifeline. These were the essentials. And so through that birthing process, I mean, to me, I just can't say enough about how energy work really does shift these states. So I know that with the global pandemic, I was adamant about making sure that we have tools out there that people can use, because I know that as the collective is bubbling through a lot of this journey that we've navigated, that we're all going through, we're all going to go through at different stages and different levels, at different timelines and different aspects of ourselves. That to have the resources and the tools are so necessary. So, but on a day-to-day basis, this is my routine. I always I start my day with my intention. I surrender this day to you, divine. Work through me on my behalf. My intention is to be a clear and perfect channel of source on behalf of myself and the collective, whatever that means. Whatever I say, may it be said with love. May it be there to support and guide in whatever way. It's not me. I'm just the human on the receiving side of it. The divine, whatever needs to be said, let it be said for the highest and best good. But when you learn to co-create with your divine self, we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And the ego thinks it knows a lot. It wants to negotiate. It can negotiate. It could tell you if you're living, in Alaska that you need ice. The ego is so creative in the ways it can tell you what you need to hear or what you think you need or what the truth is for that. And there are many ways that you might not see it otherwise. So I always say, surrender it up first. And it's a humbling journey. Work through me on my behalf. Let me see it clearly in terminology I can understand. Whatever it is that's going to move me through this phase. Because in order to move forward, we have to bring it up and out. Otherwise, we will manifest into our life experience from the lowest vibrational level.
Well, and up and out has to happen, right? It has to come up. It has to come out in some way. Sometimes we know about it. Sometimes we don't. That's good too. But the idea of movement, if there's no flow and movement, then there's no health and there's no life force, right? And there's no alignment. So right now we've got the awakening, we've got the breakdown. I always say a breakdown is as good as a breakthrough, the same thing, just how we perceive it. Both of them are going to be amazing on the other side. And so what is some of the things people can do as they have breakdowns happening? They're starting to feel that ego, that I call it the poor girl or the poor mind, what are you doing? You're not good enough and that's going to happen, and stay awake and worry and all this. As that comes up versus maybe a part of themselves, a part of their fractured soul comes up that's scary or that they've avoided. I mean, I know from the inner work that I've done for people that we lock these parts of us away for a very specific reason in response to a very specific thing that happened, whatever life it is. And we bring them into this life on purpose to force the situation to a head, so to speak, to say, this is what's come up. So we discussed that what you might perceive as your mistakes or your failures or your losses, they aren't anything of the sort. Mm-hmm. It's that conscious programming, that mind that says that's what it is. But there's a big difference between when somebody re-encounters a part of themselves that they locked away because that part spoke up too much and got in trouble. So you're holding back and you want to speak up, and now this part suddenly comes up. Now it's time to speak up. It's time to be you. And you're torn between, one, do I know if it's my ego self tricking me, or is this really a part of me? And two, how do I accept that part of me? And I call it, we say, hug it, love it, bring it back to you like a child. Don't chop it off, cut all this part of you and throw it away. Bring it back and give it a new job, right? Say, you did a great job doing that, keeping me from doing this and being locked away and not speaking up. Now we're giving you a new job, right? We're going to take that ability, that strength. Think about those parts of you that have kept you quiet or kept you in those toxic relationships or kept you not willing to speak your truth. That's power. And we can release that power. So all these things are coming up now. Tell us a little bit about how to differentiate and deal with it.
Yeah, going back to the time where before I had the full awareness and the tool set that I have now, when these states used to hit my soul and these aspects would bubble up, I remember spending days literally just saying, doing Ho'oponopono. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Hawaiian art of forgiveness. And I would just sit in forgiveness of the self. Just, what we don't realize is that words, specific words have, when they're clean, when they're pure commands, they will shift you in such a beautiful way. It's like a magic wand. So, but they can't be, if you're feeling fear, I'm not fearful, or I don't, I feel joy. You can't, You can't lie to yourself. You have, it has to be a true command. So,
Well, you can, but
well, you can. It doesn't. You're not going to get the result. It's not going to neutralize it. So, the power of the Ho'oponopono is certain words and phrases that actually speak to the truth of who you are. So first, I always say, what is coming up to the surface? Is it fear? Is it worry? Is it? And then I will talk about kind of an umbrella, and I will share even just now. I have this on. Let's see if I can pull this up on my phone. I don't know if you could see that. I am enough, and I have it posted everywhere. I have I am enough in the bathroom. I have I am enough by the coffee maker. I love coffee. I have I am enough on my computer. Like, so I am enough is one of those phrases that speaks to the truth of who you are, because you are enough. We were all born perfect, complete, and whole. We are enough just as we are, but so much of what's taken place through our upbringings and social conditionings and family systems is the shame and the guilt of you're not enough, you're not good enough. And that's what creates that schism of the self. So when those deep emotions come up, I just sit there and say, first, I would just hold, baby, I got you. Baby, I got you. And there might be all day, I got you. I got you. I got you. Because I'm learning to trust myself. What is self-love? Self-love is an umbrella of self-trust, self-respect, self-acceptance, self-awareness. It's where we really get in touch with the truth of us, where we're not going to lie to ourselves anymore. It's not about lying to anybody else. That's irrelevant, because if we're lying to somebody else, the only person we're really lying to is ourselves. We're the ones that's going to have that outcome, that experience mirror back to us. So I made a commitment to myself that I was no longer going to lie to myself. I wasn't going to tell myself it was okay. I was going to tell myself that it was okay to do something that wasn't okay for me. It was okay for me to say no to that. It was okay for me. I remember I launched my business, Radically Authentic You, based on the fact that I was saying yes to a Fortune 500 company that I was designing programs for that was so incongruent with the truth of who I was. Because I'm a deep dive. I do this kind of work. This is my umami. I'm here to help with the fractured self. I'm here to bring us back into wholeness, to shine a light in, help people remember the truth of who they are. I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. We all have this within us. It's just, what language do we need to hear it in? I could hear something a million times until one piece of it will sink, right? So I remember doing this, and I'm thinking, okay, I have to say yes to this because I'm a mom. This is the negotiations, right? I'm a mom and I'm single and I have to make a living and I got to figure it out. And every time I'm working on it, my solar plexus is just shutting down. I'm shutting down. I'm shaming myself because I know it's not me. So there's a schism that's happening. And shame is one of the lowest vibrational frequencies you can operate from. And all of a sudden I remember thinking to myself, there's no way I can do this. And then I went to a conference where there was these women, oh my goodness, women on stage just being radically authentic and sharing these stories. And they weren't pretty stories. They weren't easy stories. There was no unicorns and rainbows in their stories. I mean, that was really hardcore stuff, and the tears. And we were all together, and I thought, that's my tribe. That's my tribe. I'm not saying yes anymore. And I went home from that conference and let that go, and let go of a whole money thing to sit in no income again, to say, okay, let's go back to the drawing board now. Let's figure it out from the truth of who I am. So there were many moments in my life where I was in deep states of fear, saying, I got you. Because I got you is letting my little girl inside, that part of me that felt like she had to control things because she wasn't trusting me to make a good decision on her behalf. And why would she? I had been conditioned not to.
Wow, that's very profound.
Yeah.
We should just pause there, right? Why do we not trust ourselves generally, right? Because we don't take care of and protect ourselves. We do have those conditions that say I have to please this person and I have to be this good, and when I have this I'll be good enough, and that's very conditioned. I've never personally met a single person who doesn't have that. And
Yes.
I've worked with some very wealthy people. So don't think that just if someone's successful, it means they've worked that out. It's not true.
It's
It's
not true.
not true. That's profound. Mm.
It is profound. And that's where that trust, and when when that she or he, that little part of you starts to trust you to make decisions, because you'll bring it in over and over to test yourself, to check in. How am I going to show up now? Even just now, I was collaborating on a program that was getting ready to launch just before the bottom fell out of our whole reality here. And I woke up one day saying, oh no, this is not working. I can't move forward with it. Like, I had been given enough signs from the divine at this stage, and it was another initiation to say you're going to move through. And I shared this. I was doing a Facebook Live today. I was laughing because I was sharing this story on how I apologize. My battery, I just realized my battery in my computer is getting ready to go
Okay,
down. I have to plug in 2
go for
seconds.
it. Okay.
Thank you. Radically authentic.
Yes, we are radically authentic. It's
We are
okay.
being
We're not even
radically
going to
authentic
edit it out because this is reality.
I didn't even think of that, but that took no time at all. But I was sharing a story. Good. We're good. I'm good.
We heard the ding,
Right?
the ding of life force.
I was sharing it. Once we get good at this and we start saying yes when it's a yes and no when it's a no, we start to recognize these patterns within ourselves. But the real test comes is when you get enmeshed in something. How many times have you seen a show or witnessed somebody in your own personal life? They're getting ready to walk down the aisle and they know it's a no. And they do it anyway because it's been paid for and the guests are all there and the food. Who am I going to disappoint? How could I possibly say no now? This is when we sell our soul. And it takes a long time to recover ourselves. I know I had that experience myself where I journaled the following day going, oh boy, you just made a big mistake. And spent many years navigating that territory. So, so when we're in these things, this is when the great test comes. When we get into, because there's always a honeymoon phase. This is when you can look at life as kind of a game. And I know it takes some navigating, surfing the chop to get to a place where you can actually laugh at life being kind of a game, but it really can be a game. And you're just sitting here going, oh my goodness, you get it, you meet somebody, you have a soul connection and deep, you're collaborating together. And there's always this choice point that happens. Each person's stuff comes up. And then you come to the way I see it is we come to the table, right? And we have to have, or you don't, sometimes you just adjust your behavior, which I did. I learned to do that growing up in narcissistic abusive relationships, to adjust my behavior to fit in so that I didn't rock the boat, because that was survival for me. So when I really started speaking my truth, it was a lifeline. I didn't think I was going to survive it. I had no idea I was going to make it to the other side of saying no when it was a no. And then I thought I was going to die because of it. So, but you come to the table, right? And you get to communicate with each other. This is what I need. And what do you need? And this is what I need. And then we say, okay, are we going to move forward from here? I forget who I'm quoting this one from. I want to say Joseph Campbell, but I don't know if that's true. If it happens one time, it will never happen again. But if it happens a second time, it will definitely happen a third.
That's good. Yeah. No, it is true, but we don't see it that way, right? I mean, we typically don't, especially as you're growing and you're going through your phases in life and you're doing that. But the world's changing into something new. I don't think that anybody alive now and after the next 10 years is going to think or do things in the same way. In the meantime, as these things come up, how can people, you can, accept yourself, love yourself, to learn to trust yourself, and
And
go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, and that becomes your daily practice. And that needs to be the rituals. We've gotten so far away from ritual.
Yeah.
I love rituals.
Oh. I have so many. I think my whole day is one.
Give me a reason, right? Give me a
Yeah.
reason. Or
Yeah.
not. But so these are tools in our toolbox that we pull out. So you start with a foundation. You have to build your house on a solid foundation, not quicksand. So when you put your feet on the floor, I always do 15 to 20 minutes of a meditation. If I could do longer, I could sit in meditation now. And I'm a type A personality. So meditation didn't come easy for me. Now it's a lifeline, right?
Yeah. Oh, so much so.
Oh my goodness. And you run a grounding cord and just let the energy, the chaos, the static, you could feel the static just flush away down the grounding cord, just release, release. And then I do toning. We were talking a little bit about sound healing. So I do a toning after that, and that's powerful for me. Then
Do you have anything in particular? Like, do you tone the chakras, or do you listen to a particular mantra or chant or sutra?
Yeah, I do an toning, but it's based in kind of a wave frequency.
Right.
So it starts out high and then it goes low. So I think you just kind of find a rhythm that really flows. Of course, we have been programmed away from some of these high frequency healing music and systems that are available to us, the 700, 800, 900 frequencies, right? 450, I forget what they all are, but there's a lot of variations of healing music that you can listen to. And you and I had talked about healing music and how powerful that is. So,
well, and I want to interject that it's important to understand that it's not like some weird thing that somebody does it because of a religion. It's not a fantasy like, well, yeah, that make you feel better. It's a science, right? This is science, because your energy and you're vibrating at a state, and you've been talking about your state. Your state is, are you in fear or are you in joy? Are you in willingness or are you in anger? That's your state, and that is a measurable frequency of energy. And when you chant, even listening to them or tone, you are bringing in a different frequency, and you're bringing in one of love or peace or protection, depending on the sacred words and the different vibrations, and even these symbols, right? This is Om.
Yes.
These symbols are 2D visual representations of a frequency.
That's right.
Right? And colors are a frequency. And so all these things have a massive effect. And they don't have to be complicated. That's what's so beautiful about energy work is, yes, you can learn very in-depth, deep energy work, or you can do these things like you're sharing that will shift you, will just breathing into the earth, or feeling, something like stuff shedding off of you. The more you actually do it, the more you're going to feel it. Your senses are going to awaken and you're going to begin to sense it. So yeah, this and Om is a fantastic one, but I know I didn't used to know this stuff. So you can go to YouTube now and find all kinds of beautiful ones to listen to. I love Deva Premal. I have all of her albums, and and this and that. So meditation also, I want to clarify, because one of my clients said to me recently, I can't meditate, it makes me angry, I go blah, 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 and I get worse, so I just get up and go away. I can't think of nothing for 20 minutes. Meditating is not thinking of nothing for 20 minutes. In fact, that's thinking of nothing. That's not meditating, right? But get a guided meditation, listen to a mantra, do something to distract that part of your beta brain that wants to think, and get it done, especially now. Like I notice is you're like, did I get it done? And are the kids gonna, and are they schooled? And do I have enough food? And you've got to drop out of beta brain, right? So it's so powerful. It is proven over and over. There's more science on it than almost anything I can think of at this point. And so it's time for everybody to jump into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, nature is designed to ground us and to clear our energetic field. Get into nature. Oh my, I always say the answer to any question can be found in nature. I mean, you can always, that's a walking meditation. If you're out on a nice walk in nature, you'll find that you'll clear your energetic system. The trees just do it for you. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's what they do. It's what the exchange of energy. It's beautiful. And then I will say that through this time frame that we've all been going through, my essential go-to, I probably am waterlogged, is my shaman's bath. And the recipe for a shaman's bath that I use is 2 cups of Epsom salt, 1 cup of baking soda, and a half a cup of sea salt. And then I put 10 drops of an essential oil in there, and I soak for 20 minutes. You could do your meditation in a salt bath, and the salt bath just cleanses and cleanses and cleanses. So, I mean, there are days, and then let's just get radically authentic here and really honest with each other. How many days did I wake up through this wave that we're surfing now where I get through my morning and all of a sudden I got to go back to bed?
Yes.
Out.
Uh-huh.
I just have to stop. Get out of my head. There's nothing, there isn't a meditation, there isn't a toning, there isn't a salt bath, there isn't anything I'm going to do that's going to take away whatever is churning at this moment, except for I'm going to go check out. I'm going to go to sleep. And I've been exhausted. Absolutely. But we're getting upgraded with new energy body. Our light body is building, right? So as we clear, the gift, and let me just put my tea down. The gift that I want to say is as we clear our energetic system, that purges out and allows in the light. Oh my goodness, you become amazing. It's almost like we're becoming tuning forks on the earth, right? Like we can feel things and we sense things and we know things. And I mean, everything is frequency, and you could, no matter where you go, it's like, wow, I'm like, I see that and I feel that. It's almost like you're doing a medicine journey without the medicine. It's just everyday life.
Yes.
It's profound. So you know things before they connect. It was like I was saying, I was launching a program and all of a sudden I woke up, went to the table, had the conversation. Well, 2 days later, had another of the same experience. I'm like, oh no, I don't have to have that experience. I don't have to put myself through it anymore. So I just said, listen, I think we're done. We're good. Let's not launch.
Yeah.
Program's complete. And walked away before I went down the wedding aisle.
Well, it's true. And we were talking about that. And one of the things that I've been telling people for years now is stop expecting your plans to work out in a particular way. Planning, goals, the way that we were taught and conditioned, they make you feel safe. It's a false sense of security. In case you've lost all your stocks or anything like that, you'll know that, wow, I thought that made me safe. But the other thing is that you don't have to experience that roller coaster, right? If you go with your flow, I feel like getting in bed right now. Go do it. Yeah. I feel like taking a shower right now. And we all know when you get in the lower states, you don't feel like going and doing a meditation. You just sit there and go, it's stupid. Who wants to do meditation? And you hate people who are happy when you're feeling depressed, right? So the gap is just too big, right, in that. But that's part of then listen to that inner self. If you unwind and unpack and take down the walls over the heart, like you're talking about, you can turn to that and hand it over. You can go within and say, I'm done. I can't drive the boat anymore. I've got to go within. You've got to take over. And then we have to start on letting go of the guilt And that, I think, in this process of being radically authentic with yourself, saying, this is how I feel right now. I can't do that job anymore. You know, Carolyn Meese says that we all have the archetype of the prostitute, as well as the child, inner child, and a few other ones. Well, that doesn't mean that you're selling your sex on the corner, okay? That means you're selling your soul for something. Even when you're not consciously aware of it, you know it within, right? You're having that reaction. And again, deciphering the difference between the ego trying to push you and guilt you and pull you back down there, and that part of you that's coming back to you from the depths of your shadow, right? Saying, hey, I've been through this. I know I can take us there. All of these things, as we just accept the moment. Oh, I'm feeling fear right now. Okay. All right, good, good. You know, there was this amazing mentor I had who was taught by his mentor to do things like walk early in the morning in the freezing woods and stuff. And he'd be grumbling along. And what happened? Eventually, he started hearing himself. Yeah. Right? He started hearing the grumbling instead of noticing the beauty in the silence in the woods. Or he started noticing, oh, I'm feeling fear. Oh, I'm feeling jealousy. Well, if you feel it, don't shame it. Like you said, don't go, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that, or I don't want to feel that. Yeah, so that acceptance of being, that's radically authentic, I think. And that is a big part of awakening, because we've been fighting and battling and shoving these parts of ourselves down and locking them away and trying to pretend they're not there and getting more big screen TVs and buying everything we can and whatever, you know, this whole incredible, you know, pacify, distract, you know, and we're just at the point where it's, you've got to see it. So what a beautiful, you know, experience to be able to understand it's okay to sit with it.
And then to understand that the magic of what happens through that, when you, because the way I have visualized it is we bring in that higher part of ourself now is operating out of our heart. So we are connected from above into the earth. And there is I mean, talk about synergy and flow. And you trust not only yourself, but the world is mirroring it right back to you. And so people show up out of nowhere. You're just like, how did you know? And where did that come from? I mean, I was getting ready to go through a massive transformation. I actually went through a major heart opening where I woke up feeling a heart attack and checked myself into the ER, which I've never done before. And I went through a journey that was profound. I ended up doing a cacao ceremony the next day that kind of answered all my questions around it. It was a profound experience, but it was my heart getting ready, was taking on these higher aspects of energy now. We're opening, we're expanding so we could hold the light and be in these high vibrational states. Well, all of a sudden, I mean, a whole group of people showed up in my life that I met through that journey that I had no idea that I'm now doing stuff that, who knew that was gonna, so it comes out of nowhere. And resources show up in ways that you couldn't explain, and your health turns around. And that's another thing I want to talk about, right? We, you know, for my body, I'm finding that I'm purging things that have kept me in denser energy system. Now, there are certain things that are grounding. I'm not saying that you have to abide by any one particular diet whatsoever, but listen to what your body is asking for. I did get sick at the beginning of this whole thing, and it was a weird that had a mind of its own. COVID, whatever. I wasn't tested for it, but my doctor seemed to think that's what was going on with me. And I had all kinds of weird stuff happening and purging. And so I couldn't even get off the couch for 3 weeks. I mean, literally flattened, with a child flattened too. And I amped up my whole system of supplements that just came to me. All of a sudden, I started taking things that my body was craving. Oregano and doing, I mean, just natural supplements that I needed. And I was like, wow, I could feel everything in my system. I was thinking, so I could feel the depletion of what we were missing in our diet based on what has been taken out of our systems, right? That are, we're having, and I'm drinking green water now with chlorophyll in it because, we need this life force energy to flow through our system right now. So it's showing up in many different ways for us, but we're all going through it together,
Yep. And you were showing the I am enough thing earlier.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about something that I read recently that was apparently from Wayne Dyer. And it was that I am is no longer the most powerful statement. It's we are.
Yes,
because we are one.
Yeah.
So yes, we need to, most of us do not have enough self-confidence and all the rest of it and love ourselves. And yes, you need to be like I am. But if you think about the power of I am, we are. I am enough. There is enough.
Yeah.
We are enough. There is enough because the desperation, the corruption that we're seeing become transparent, the structures that are falling apart, it's all based on desperation. It's based on that addiction, that craving of never enough, that I call it the desire disappointment loop. Oh, and the unfulfilled desires at a lower level that we were told we needed, right? And so these,
and the separation.
Yes. So all these parts coming up. Oh my gosh. Now I know you have a special gift that has 3 beautiful pieces to it that are going to help people as the pandemic is bringing stuff up and your personal transformation is bringing stuff up and the energies right now, and you can be able to sort through it and accept yourself, love yourself through it. So tell us about those.
My gift was created and designed when I was going through my transformation. And my intention for the gift itself, and that's another piece I want to add as far as your toolbox, intentions, set those intentions, every day I set my intention to feel peace. May I be at peace today. When we're in high states of transformation, there's a lot of drama and chaos. So I always say, but my intention for that gift was that it served the highest and best good for all who received it. And I know right now in lockdown and people are not able to get out, they're in situations where they're seeing things within the people that they are in lockdown with, and there's a lot that's coming out with some toxic relationship stuff and abuse and things of that nature. So I'm just holding everyone in a container of love, and I'm sending just so much love and light to everyone right now going through some challenging times, because we are bringing it up, and we might be in situations where we're experiencing it at deeper core states than other people. So my first gift is clearing toxic relationships and bringing in our divine counterparts, and that is not necessarily in romantic relationships. It's our divine partners in the we, like you said. We're calling in our tribe, we're calling in our soul family now. And that might not be our blood family. I know I had to walk away from my entire family system, and I walked away with very few people, 4 people, and now I'm building my soul family, and my tribe is just beautiful. And I'm supported in ways that I can't even tell you. I feel so loved and so taken care of. I'm so blessed. So that was the first gift. I just wanted anybody who has ever been in a toxic relationship to know that you have tools to really see it and get clear the energy and walk away. And that leads into the second gift, which is a meditation in endings. Because what happens is we've been conditioned through distraction, the give me more syndrome, right? And distract ourselves in every way, that when something ends in our lives, we never honor it. We've lost the ritual. So a meditation in endings allows you to claim your power out of the situation and do a ceremony of ending around it, so that you could release the energy from it, so that you could clean it up and take a break, call back all your power back home to you, before you recreate, because you don't want to bring it in at the level you were playing at. You want to clean it, release it, shift it so that you can now bring in that higher aspect, that place of love, that joyful life. So I think and then Soul Sync comes from, this is my third gift. I love my Soul Sync meditation. It actually was birthed out of the Oneness University in India. And I just can't say enough about how that has supported me in recreating and reinventing myself. So I take you through the 3 stages of releasing. Really, if we're on Earth, we're in a relationship. It's part of how we've come to learn this planet. So releasing toxic relationships doesn't have to be romantic. It could be across our family and work relationships, across the board, anywhere that we've experienced it. Doing a clearing of the ending of it, releasing our attachment to it, calling all our power back, and then rebirthing ourselves.
Ooh, wow, beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all audios, and you can get them in our toolkit. So you're going to get these, and then we'll also get the link for the Facebook one you mentioned, so we can include it and give it to everybody as well. The one about fear, right?
Yeah.
You said it was like unraveling fear.
Yeah, perfect.
Which is great. I know, I've spent so many years doing energy work and healing and personal growth and all this, and I don't feel like I'm a fearful person in general. I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff. I'm maybe too fearless in some ways. And yet in the last year, for personal reasons and things that have happened in my family, and then this, I've had more waves of fear come up out of me. Just it was almost consuming a few months ago as I went through my own health scare, and it was like I just watched it at one point. Like it was like you said, being in the ocean. There was no way out of it. It wasn't like I could avoid it. I could pacify it. I could weave it away. I could meditate it. I could, whatever. I just had to sit in it. And wow, there's the fear. Oh boy, that's a lot of fear. And just accept it and let it come up. So it doesn't matter who you are, how much you've done, how much you haven't done. These things are going to come and go. It's not going to have a pattern for anyone. And so having these tools, right, to be able to really see that is powerful. Wonderful. Well, so share with us before we go one last thought, whatever you would like to share, a quote or personal philosophy or something inspiring for people as they are radically awakening and coming face to face with their authentic selves and everyone else's.
I think the greatest gift I ever received, and this is what I want to share, is absolutely everything serves. Everything serves. And when we can recognize that everything in our life is there to serve our highest and best good, even though it doesn't feel good, even though we're going through stuff that is really challenging, when we can know that the divine has our back in such a way that we wouldn't bring something into our lives, no matter how painful. And I've gone through deep places of loss. I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you if I couldn't speak at every level of it. I lost my first husband in a car accident at 24 years old. I've been through pain. Trust me when I tell you everything serves. Somebody once said to me, I wonder who you would have been if you hadn't had that experience. And I said, oh my goodness, yeah. David gave me my wings to fly. Yeah. My late husband came through me in a spiritual experience that connected me to these teachings and this knowingness at such a deep level that it's not negotiable for me. So everything serves. So what we have to do with that is say, okay, what can I do if everything is serving me now? How can I make the best of this situation? What can I do? What is this teaching me, or how am I growing from this? So, we're either going, kicking and screaming, or we're going in the flow. So that's one piece. If we know that it serves, like, okay, this doesn't feel good right now. It doesn't serve. I mean, it's serving me. So what am I going to do with it? It was like when I had to walk away from this program I just created. I'm like, okay, this is serving me. So I might not understand it right now. I might not see it for a little while. But what I know is when I go through initiation, stepping up to say no to something, because that's my initiation when I brought it in over and over and over and over again. I know it's serving me to claim my power.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking earlier, this isn't a moment in time that you will know or will get the results you want right now. And that doesn't mean that what you're drawn to do, what your inner heart begins to guide you to, is wrong. So really stay with unraveling your heart, going within, connecting that together, right? So that you can follow what it is you're being called to do. Because you were saying, I love this, we're all acupuncture points, needles on the planet. And that's powerful. If you've ever had acupuncture, you know how incredible that is. It can release stuck energy and all kinds of amazing things, right? So you are that. You're not a mistake. You're exactly where you are for a reason. In fact, the most intelligent, divine, infinite, powerful part of you is right there with you saying this is the right moment. So what a powerful thing to sit down and say, okay, I am feeling this. I am experiencing that. I do have this. It's okay. I got you. I'm going to trust myself now and listen within, not run around, not talk a lot, not try to find the solution outside of me, right? Like you've shared. And wow, everything serves. When my daughter died, what she came back and told us through a janitor at the hospital that my husband was working at, she walked up to him and said, you have an angel over your shoulder. And he said, my daughter just died. And, oh, yes, she wants you to know some stuff that then everything is opportunity. Find the diamond in this. So, you know, like when you lost your husband, I lost my daughter, and everybody on here has had some kind of painful loss or failure. You may feel it was unfair. You may still be, you know, hurting from it, or you may be confused by it or feel like it was taken from you. It's a gift. And when you look deeper with this work that Lisa's sharing and all of the opportunities right now, the diamonds that you're going to find underneath inside of that, that's how diamonds are formed. That's why we use that, right? Pressure, darkness, heat, and then we get that. So beautiful. So share with us your website, please.
Yes, my website is radicallyauthenticyou.com.
Perfect.
And they could get the gift that I'm offering. I have a summit that's running right now. So it's radicallyauthenticyou.com/summit. And right there is where the gift will be listed. And in fact, on my website under services, the healing fear is under there. So, I mean, I could definitely
Oh,
say
okay.
that they could access it from my website as well.
Perfect. Yes, I think people are going to want that.
Yeah,
So,
really.
all right. Well, thank you so much, honey. Thank you for sharing you. Thank you for being you. And thank you for making it through all of your ups and downs to be here as a light for other people. I couldn't thank you enough. And I'm thrilled that we've met.
I am thrilled we've met, and thank you for having me here. And thank you to everyone who is diving into being here on Earth right now through this transformation. We're just so much love.
We are one. So we're going to wrap this up, and I am going to share my favorite Mayan greeting and goodbye. It's all the same. And it's in La Quechalakin, and it means I am another you, you are another me, we are one. So share this, take care of yourself, love yourself, accept yourself, find all those parts of you that you've been ashamed of or forgotten about, and welcome them back with love, and sit with what you're feeling. Go to bed if you need to go to bed. Get Lisa's meditations and make sure that you carve time for yourself. There's no more important time right now. We've all been prioritizing everything in our lives. And I think since health became the first priority, now money's coming to the surface as the next priority. People are worried about. Underneath all of that, you can't do any of it if you don't take care of yourself, both mentally and emotionally and physically. And like we were talking, energy healing, energy work, recognizing your energy, watching and guarding your energy, protecting what you feed your energy, and then finding all those parts of you and becoming whole again. So thanks everybody for being here, for being the light, for sharing this. Let's get excited about creating the new earth.
Bye.